must have slept longer than I thought.
Did you miss me?
Did you go somewhere?
Here's your coffee, dude.
Well, good morning. You guys might not know this, but our bromance goes pretty deep. So, if you haven't figured it out yet, we here at Trace, we like to have fun, I think sometimes we have this picture of God sitting up in heaven, like writing rules and like just shaking his head at us whenever we get them wrong, And I'm sure, and I know for a fact in my life, like he's done that head shake on my behalf sometimes. But sometimes I think he just sits up in heaven and just sits back and like just chuckles, just enjoys watching his creation have fun. Just from a theology standpoint, like where did we come up with this concept of humor, of creativity, of fun? Like we are made in God's image. He's the one who's given it to us. And so we like to kind of exercise that, and we like to have fun around here. But we also, like, we're kind of competitive. And so, like, this was a lip sync battle. And so I need to know, like, who won this battle. So how many of you all think Aaron won the battle? How many of you think that Corey won the battle? Just for a moment. This is our very first time doing Facebook Live, and Aaron is at home sick this morning. And so, Aaron, I just want you to acknowledge your defeat today. I won competition number 1. All right, there we go. Very good. Now, what's funny about this whole lip sync battle concept, we threw something up on Facebook last week. It was the carpool lip sync that we did to kind of introduce the whole series. And somebody got on there, and they asked this question. They said, what does this have to do with Jesus? Okay? Now, I really appreciate their question, and we responded to it. But here's what you guys need to know about us. First of all, everything we do, it begins and it ends with Jesus. Like, he's our whole reason for existence. Many of us have relocated our families from Arizona and are a part of this, have invested in this church and this community because of Jesus. Like, it's all because of him. We work day in, day out, week in, week out, and it's because of Jesus. We want to make Jesus famous everywhere we go. Here's the deal, okay? Oftentimes, speaking of church leadership and churches in general, we do a poor job of actually representing Jesus. We make him boring. We don't like make him exhilarating, and that's, unfortunately, that's a poor representation of Jesus. Like, Jesus is funny. Like, I think he farted in the group circles and, like, didn't tell anybody and, like, just chuckled about it. Like, I like, that's not a sin, by the way, okay? Jesus never sinned. It's okay to do that. Like, Jesus, like, we should represent him better. And as a church, I think that we need to come up with some unconventional ways of getting people's attention sometimes so that we can then point them to the one who we're all about. And so like, what does this have to do with Jesus? What does lip sync battles have to do? Okay, here's what it has to do. Okay, we got your attention. And here's what we want you to know. Oftentimes we say something with our lips that's not reflected with our lives. And what we want to challenge you to do, what we want to challenge ourselves to do, is we want our lips to actually sync with our lives when it comes to our faith. We don't want to honor God with our lips. We don't want to be the kind of people who honor God with our lips and then deny him with our life. And here's why it matters. Okay, whether you know it or not, the fact that you've shown up here, the fact that you have communicated any kind of faith journey, it causes you to be a representation of all of that to other people that you are around. It doesn't matter if you're hanging out with your school buddies. It doesn't matter if it's your neighbor or a family member or a complete stranger. When they see, or they hear at least, like you are a part of a faith, and specifically one that represents Jesus, then the things that you say and the things that you do, they're looking to see if they line up or not. And unfortunately, like the church body, we've gotten a pretty bad rap. And I don't know if it's a bad rap because it's true, or if it's a bad rap because people only see a portion of the illustration. And this is what I mean by this, okay? I hear it all the time. And you probably do as well. When people say one thing, but they don't actually live it out, what are they called? Hypocrites, right? Hypocrites. And this is something that, we'll talk about here. It's like, hey, the church is full of hypocrites. Yeah, I agree. And we have plenty of room for more to come. So if you'd like to come, join us. All right, come do it. But we don't want to be a church full of hypocrites. We don't want to communicate something with our mouth and not allow it to actually affect our heart and to be implemented in our lives. Let me take it one step further, because I think we could talk about being a hypocrite and hold it at arm's length, okay? But when you say something and you don't do it, it actually makes you a liar, okay? Intentionally or unintentionally. When we actually communicate something with our lips, but we don't allow it to reflect on our lives, we become liars. And I don't know about you guys, but like I can handle maybe being called a hypocrite, but like don't call me a liar. But the reality is oftentimes we are, regardless of our good intentions. It takes intentionality. And so what we're going to do today is we're actually going to talk a little bit and interact a little bit with these concepts of things that we oftentimes say, but sometimes don't do. All right, and so I guarantee that one of these four is going to connect with you in some way, form, or fashion. But we're going to kind of process through this. It's going to be a little bit interactive. We're going to have some fun with it today. But before we get there, this is what you guys need to know. All right, a bias for action will keep you from being hypocritical, and that is what I want to try to instill in you today. We need to be people of action. People who guard what we say, but when we say it, we mean it, and we're going to act upon it. I've got a couple of students that are hanging out here in the front row with me today, and yeah, all right, we got one of them that's excited to be a student. That's good. Okay, I love these guys. We have an incredible student ministry, but I put like a steep expectation on a select group of juniors and seniors, and we gave this expectation, and we said, hey, this is what we're asking of you. Okay, you have an opportunity to opt in or opt out of this, but if you want to opt into this, understand we're going to keep you accountable for the things that you are actually saying that you will do. And we're going to have our first meeting tonight. I'm really, really excited about holding these guys to the fire and to see what actually happens, okay, to see what actually happens. But this is what we're going to build off today. It comes from Deuteronomy 23:23. It says this: whatever your lips utter, you must be sure to do. Plain and simple. Whatever your lips utter, you must be sure to do. And it matters because people are watching. And you could possibly be a bad representative. But catch this, guys. When we actually do the things that we say that we want to do, people see that. And they are pointed to Christ because of it. Okay. So, things that we say but don't actually do. We got 4 of them here, okay? I'm going to walk you through some of these. And each one of these, we're going to have an action step. I'm just going to encourage you guys today to step out of your comfort zone a little bit and gain as much from this conversation that we have today as you possibly can by participating as much as you can. So here we go, all right? First thing that people say that they don't always do. And see if you ever fall in this category. You've heard of somebody who has a need. You've heard of somebody who's going through a hard time. And this is the phrase that comes out of your mouth. Ready? Hey, let me know if you need anything. Okay? How many of you guys have ever said that before? Anybody? Okay. All of us to some extent. Now, it's a wonderful thing to say, right? But sometimes in the back of our mind, we make this statement with no intention of actually responding if somebody actually had a need. Is that true? Like anybody? Just me. All right, I'm the only one that's ever said that. That's good to know, okay? Sometimes we make this statement like as a way to kind of get out of a conversation. Hey, let me know if you need anything, and you walk away, right? Please don't ever call me. I'm not going to give you my number, so that you can call me to do this. Now, here's the deal. I think most of the time that we make this statement, though, we have really good intentions, but it doesn't always materialize. You know why? Because we make a statement, and then we wait on somebody else to take the action. We wait on somebody else to take the action. Now, I've had a lot of like recent experience with this particular thing because I have been calling people ad nauseum to help us with our new house. Okay, we bought a house about a month ago. We've had about a month to kind of renovate it. It's 1965, so there's a lot of things to do. Matter of fact, last night was our first night in the house, and our heater broke. And so, like, stress, like, is crazy for any kind of person who's moving. All right, but those of you all that know our story, my wife is prone to anxiety and depression and mental illness, and so like moves are particularly stressful. And so yesterday could have been a complete disaster. It could have been complete chaos, especially with the heater breaking and then the water heater not working quite right. And anyway, like we were on the verge of breakdown and had a little bit of one at the end of the night. But here's the deal. we had so many people who said, let me know if you need anything, but didn't wait for us to actually ask, and they showed up, that it was able to like help us to carry that burden of stress into the home. And I can't tell you how much that means to me. I want to give you just a couple of illustrations. There's like, I don't want to hurt anybody else's feelings that has been helpful, but let me tell you about two people just real quick. One is a guy, and he's not a spring chicken. All right, I'm not gonna call him an old guy, but he's pretty old. Okay, and he made this statement to me: "Hey, let me know if you need anything." But he didn't stop there. He calls me and he says, "Hey, just to let you know, I've got 12-hour shifts this week, but every night this week, if you need me, I'm gonna call you, and you let me know where you need me." And so, like, literally, he stayed true to this, and he called me after he gets off of work. I get done with work. I go home, put the kids to bed. 8:30 p.m. to 12 o'clock at night for multiple days during that week, he shows up and helps me finish some paint on the house. His name is Denny, and he's actually sitting in here right now. And this is after 12 hours of working, and he put me to shame, this old guy, all right? After working 12-hour shifts, is like still working. He's like, "Oh, we're done?" Like I could still go for like 3 more hours. And like, he didn't wait. He took initiative. Let me tell you about somebody else, okay? Last night, after we get all settled, we're trying to figure out some stuff, we had somebody with the forethought to know that it was going to be crazy for us to actually figure out dinner. And so this is what she did. She didn't ask us if we needed dinner. She said, "Hey, I'm coming on Saturday night to bring you dinner. Let me know how many people are there, and I'll be there, and then what time." And she shows up with this huge, big platter of plate. We didn't have to fix anything. It was one of those deals where we're just like, man, thank the Lord that somebody was thinking out for us. It made such a difference in our impact. So here's what I'm going to ask you to do, okay? When it comes to this statement, when it comes to this phrase, and you speak these things, let me know if you need anything. Don't wait for somebody to tell you what their need is. Assume that they have a need and then seek to meet it. I'm showing up at this time. Let me know what I can do. I'm bringing over a meal. Let me know what it is. Now, here's the deal. I know that every single one of us here in this room, we have people in our world, in our sphere of influence, who we know that are going through things. It may be new babies. It might be a move. It might be difficulties, financial, whatever it happens to be. It could be a neighbor that just needs their yard raked, okay? Let us be people that are moved to action so that we can represent Jesus well. And so what we're going to do right now, this might be a little bit awkward. We're going to take just a couple minutes. And after each one of these things, we're going to have an action step. And so we're going to take just a couple minutes. Music's going to come on. What I want you to do right now is I want you to think about that person in your life who maybe needs some help, who you would say this thing to: "Let me know if you need anything." And right now, I want you to figure out how you can help meet that need. It might be a financial one. Give them some money, give them a check. It might be an encouraging note. It might be going over to their house afterwards and helping them clean the old house that they just moved out of, just to let you all know. Okay, whatever that thing happens to be, like, I want you to think about that right now, and I want you to do it, okay? Put it on a calendar, make it happen. Go ahead and do that right now. Whatever your lips utter, make sure to do it. Make sure to do it. Now, you all know what it feels like to actually be looked at awkwardly for a long period of time. That's what I've been doing to you. This is what we experience up here when we talk, okay? Next thing here, okay? We're going to keep moving. All right, so let me know if you need anything. That is something that we say oftentimes. But here is another statement, okay? I just told you all that we just moved in. We've got all new neighbors. And oftentimes, what will happen is you'll get this phrase when you meet somebody, you rekindle a relationship, and here's the phrase, ready? We should have you over for dinner sometime, right? Okay, let's get together sometime. Now, that could be code for I want to finish this conversation and don't want to talk to you again, okay? But I feel like you have the best of intentions when that comes. And so if you make that statement, then you got to make a plan to make it happen. Now, here's why this is so important. I'm a true believer that some of the best conversations, some of the most in-depth relationship stuff happens whenever you are around a table. It's called table fellowship. When you break bread with each other, when you grab coffee, you can just sit back. You don't have any agenda. It's just let's get to know each other. Now, what happens is most of us will make a statement like this, and because of schedules and craziness and kids and, maybe just, lack of administrative ability, whatever it happens to be, we don't actually make this happen. I mean, I could tell you probably 4 or 5 people that I have in my mind right now that I have either made this statement to or they have made this statement to me, and it's not materialized. We've not done it because we didn't live an interruptible life enough to be able to make this thing happen. And now when that happens, when you actually sit down with somebody and you have a coffee, you have a meal with them, all of a sudden, like, something happens to that friendship. And you're able to, in those moments, be able to show them how much you care about them, how much you love them, get to know their story, dive in deeper, and you go from a surface relationship to something deeper. Guys, this is an important thing for us as followers of Jesus. When we make this statement, we need to make it come true because these are the kind of environments that allows us to actually invest in other people. So, here's the deal, okay? Pull out your phones. Pull out your calendars. Pull out your schedule. If you have made this statement to somebody in the near future, in the recent future, past, sorry, in the recent past, then what you want to do is, I want you to actually text them right now, and I want you to set something up. It might be lunch after church today. It might be coffee sometime this week, but put it on your calendar because if you don't calendar it, you're not going to do it. Now, here's the deal. There may be somebody in this room that you've made that statement to, all right? I want you to get up, and I want you to go over, and I want you to get their number if you don't have their number, and put something on the calendar. You got a minute and a half. Go do it right now. You guys thought you were just going to show up to church and hear somebody talk. I'm actually making you all do stuff. This is good. Here's the deal, okay? We want to be a church of action. But the only way that happens is if we take opportunities. And you're going to get more out of this if you participate in these things, I promise you. All right, here's the next one, okay? The next phrase. Now, this is a phrase that some of us are too quick to say, and some of us just won't allow those words to come out of our mouth. It's these 3 words. I forgive you. I forgive you. Now, this is one that my family has kind of had to work through a little bit because when I first met my wife, she came from a family that didn't often apologize. As a matter of fact, like for the first part of our marriage, like I don't ever recall her family apologizing for anything, like nothing. And there was plenty of things to be apologized for. Okay, now with that being said, you don't like develop a good way of actually forgiving people if there's no apology that's made. And so, like literally, I remember having these conversations with my wife where I would screw up and I would ask for forgiveness, and she'd be like, "Okay," I'm like, "No, babe, I need you to say the words. Like I need to hear, I forgive you. Like I need to know that this is reconciled. It's gone. We're done with this. It's over." Okay, and so like I had to teach her this, and it's one of the beautiful things about a marriage is we have an opportunity to actually help each other become more Christ-like, and this is one of the areas in which I was able to share something with her. But with that being said, I started wrestling with this here recently because early on in our marriage, we had some really, really difficult times, and things would build up, and she would be asking for forgiveness, and honestly, I was probably too quick to say these 3 words without actually dealing with them in my heart. And so what would happen was I'd actually verbalize with my lips, "I forgive you," but inside my heart, I was still holding bitterness, still holding anger, resentment. And honestly, these things have built up over the years. I was at a family camp this past summer, and one of the speakers was a marriage speaker, and they were talking about some stuff, and they gave us an opportunity to actually forgive somebody. And for whatever reason, the Lord just quipped this to my heart, and like I realized, like even though I had said these words in my heart, I had not actually forgiven my wife, and it was affecting our relationship. It was affecting the way I saw her and interacted with her, and so like I had to do some business inside because I wanted my life to actually sync up with what my lips were saying. And the speaker gave us an opportunity. He said, if you need to forgive somebody, I want you to go grab a stick. And we went out to the woods and we grabbed a stick, and I found the big one. All right, we found the stick, and he says, when you're ready, I want you to drop it in the fire. And let that signify you letting go of this thing, you releasing that person, you releasing this bitterness and resentment inside your heart so that you can actually forgive him. And guys, I got to tell you, like that night, it was a freeing thing for me. It was like the weight of the world was lifted off of me. And those of you all that are living in unforgiveness understand that weight and that pressure. It's like the poison that you intend for somebody else, but you end up drinking yourself. That's what bitterness is. Some of you guys have a need to forgive somebody today, to offer true forgiveness, maybe to verbalize it. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you an opportunity. All of you have been hurt by people in the past. I know because I've talked to some of you about some of those hurts that are going on in your life or have happened in the past. And so what's going to happen right now is I'm going to give you just a couple minutes. I want you to think of that person in your mind who you need to forgive. And they might not even know that they have something to be forgiven over. They might not have ever apologized to you in the first place. But I want you to forgive them nonetheless so that you can get rid of that weight that's on you and so that you can represent Jesus as well. Because he says, like, hey, listen, I'm going to forgive you, but I want you to forgive others the same way that I forgive you. And so we're going to take a moment to do that. Now, for some of you guys, you've already said the words. You need to do some business in your heart about actually forgiving them. And maybe just you write that down or make a note or send a text, okay? We're going to take just a minute. Think about the person that you need to forgive. Think about the person that you need to let go of that bitterness. Go ahead and do that right now. Guys, if we're going to represent Jesus well, we've got to be good at forgiveness. Whatever your lips speak, make sure that you do. Okay, make sure you do. Here's the last one. Okay, This is one that all of us are guilty of at some extent. I know this one's probably the one that I'm most guilty of in my own life. You're sitting there talking to somebody, and you have a conversation, and they bring up something that's going on in their life, okay? And oftentimes, our first reaction, because we're spiritual beings, okay, is this, okay? Hey, I'll pray for you. Have you ever said that to somebody? I'll pray for you. Now, honestly, again, good intentions, like I have an intention to do this, but if I'm being completely honest with you, man, I don't want to put a percentage on that because that'll look me terrible. 63% of the time, all right? 63% of the time, I would say that when I say that to somebody, I have delayed praying for them or forgotten about it completely. Okay. I know I'm a horrible person, okay, but you are too because you've done it yourself, all right? So, guys, a bias for action will keep us from being hypocritical. Why should we wait? Why should this be a phrase that we say and delay to do? Why not do that immediately? Do that right now. Matter of fact, I was telling you, like, I got to teach my wife, I forgive you, right? My wife got to teach me, I'll pray for you, and doing it right now. One of the things I love about my wife is, like, no matter what's going on, like, she's a lightning rod for people. Like, people will come to her, and they'll share some stuff. And I think this is the reason why. Because in that moment, this is not like a distant, hey, I'll pray for you later. Like, in that moment, whatever is going on in your life, whatever you're communicating, she takes you to Jesus. And she'll have a conversation with God on your behalf. And she does this in person. She'll also we have this like group text thing when anybody throws something out there, hey, be praying for this, whatever, stuff like that. She'll text back like a prayer in that mix, in this, that. And guys, I love that. I love that about her. I love that about her. So not only did she have an impact in me in this way, but I had a boss previously. His name's Paul. And I love this guy, great mentor, but like he was in ministry with me together, and we did this stuff together. And one of the things that just so impressed me about him was every single interaction I had with him, he would always end with or begin with, hey, how can I pray for you? What's the number one thing that I can be praying for you for? And it would force me to stop and think about that, and I would share it with him. And here's the game changer for me. Right there in that moment, hand on my shoulder, hey, I'm going to take you to Jesus. And he'd pray for me about that. And I knew that was genuine. And I know that wasn't the only time he was praying for me, but right there in that moment, man, he was a reflection of Jesus to me. Now, I want you to think about that for a minute. How cool would it be for us to have a culture of people all throughout the lobby and in the parking lot and in here? It's like as we present things, as things are going on in our life, they're just hands on shoulders everywhere we go with heads bowed, taking people to Jesus. Like that is a picture of what the church should be. And we can't solve all the problems. We can't meet all the needs, but we can take them to Jesus, and we can allow him to be able to be their intercessor. Guys, don't allow this just to come out of our mouth and forget about it or delay it. We need to be people who actually do this. And so this is what I'm going to ask us to do. Okay, how many of you guys need prayer? Anybody need prayer? Okay, the rest of you are heathens. If you no, just joking. Okay, we all need prayer for something in our life. We all have stuff going on, but some of us have things that are going on immediately. We have things that are just like pressing on us. We have pregnancies that we're just praying over. We got houses that we're moving into. We got life that is just throwing us curves. We got financial pressures. We got new job changes. We have friendship issues, relationship issues. Guys, we are plagued with this kind of stuff. You don't need to go through that alone. Let us take you to Jesus in prayer. So what I'm going to ask you to do, who actually has like something, I'm not going to ask anybody to share this, but just raise your hand. Raise your hand nice and high if you have something that you need prayer for today. Be bold about this, guys. Okay, if you got something that you need prayer for today, I want you to raise your hand. Again, I'm not going to ask you to share this with anybody. So keep your hand up. Keep your hand up. This is what I'm going to ask you to do, okay? The people that are around you, I want you to take action. Have a bias for action, okay? What I'm going to have you do is turn around here in a minute, and I want you to pray over that person now. Ask them their name if you don't know their name. If they would like to share what that request is, they can share that request so you have a more specific thing to pray for. But if they don't want to share it, then you just take them to Jesus on their behalf. So we're going to do that right now, okay? And all this is, for those of you all that are new to church, new to Jesus, all that kind of stuff, we have an opportunity to talk to Jesus on somebody else's behalf. We're we're just going to talk to them, okay? So right now, I want you to take just a couple minutes. If you're around a person to raise your hands. If you got the prayer request, okay? I want you to get around them, put a hand on them appropriately, okay? Appropriate hand touching, all right? And I want you just to pray for them. And if you don't have somebody to pray for you, I'll come down and pray for you. You raise your hands, and other people get around these guys and pray for them. Pray for them. Let's pray. Church just got real here, guys. Feel free to keep praying, because that conversation you're having with God is a lot more than important than whatever I'm speaking here, okay? But let me just bring this to conclusion. Guys, we are the church. We are the representation of Jesus Christ. And when our lips don't match up with our lives, we make Christ out to be a liar. This matters. This matters, that our lips sync up with the rest of our lives. And so when we say these phrases, okay, and it's not just those phrases, there are other phrases as well, but when we say those things, evaluate them before you actually speak them with your mouth. And if you truly mean them, then be people biased for action and put them in place. And what's going to happen is you're not going to be a bad representation of Jesus. You're actually going to be able to help people see Jesus. And you're going to see people like he sees them. And you'll be able to leave traces of God's love everywhere you go, which is part of our mission. So here's what's going to happen, okay? I'm going to pray, and then we're going to enter into what we call a response time. Every week we have an opportunity to be people of action. And we know that you come in every week and you listen to a message, and the hope is that you will actually do something with the things that we talk about, the things that you've heard either from us or from a song or straight from the Spirit of God. And so today, you just do some business. We got some stations in the back that are lit up. There are prayer stations. Maybe you have something that you need to confess. Maybe it's that forgiveness you need to let go of. Maybe you have requests that you need to ask or praises. Man, write those things down. And one of the things that we do is we actually pray over those on Monday morning as a directional team. We'd love to pray with you and walk with you through whatever's going on right now in your life. And if you didn't get a chance to pray with somebody during that time, and you would like somebody just to pray with you, you'd like to share, man, come up and find myself or one of the other staff afterwards, man. Actually, don't limit it to our staff. Find somebody else here from Trace. Let them be the church and let them pray over you, okay? That's the challenge. In addition to that, every week we have an opportunity to reflect on what Jesus has done for us, his death, burial, and resurrection, which sets us free. He gives us the opportunity to actually be his instruments. And so we have those stations here in the front and the back. It's communion. It's what we call it. And it simply represents his blood that was shed for us on the cross and his body that was broken for us on the cross. And if that's something you believe, then feel free to make your way up to one of these stations and respond accordingly. So I'm going to pray, and the band will come back up here. They're going to sing another song, and then we'll conclude with our time together today. Father, let us just pause and reflect. Let us thank you for who you are. Thank you for letting us be the church, letting us be your plan. We're not the secondary plan. We are the primary plan. Forgive us as church leadership where we've taken the power out of the hands of the people, where we've simply prayed from the stage but not allowed other people to have that privilege. Father, where we've spoken into other people's lives but not encouraged other people to do the same. Father, let this church not be a place that makes people impotent, but instead it empowers people to actually be representatives of you, and keeps people accountable for being that representative. That when we say things with our mouths, when they come out of our lips, Lord, that we actually sync them with our lives. That is our prayer. And it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.